old wall has been there for a long time. It's time to refresh the house. Starts aren't always perfect. Just slow down a little. The difference starts to show. Just one color of paint is enough to change the whole room. The house suddenly feels fresher. Great joy comes from small changes. Bluey and Bingo were preparing for a treasure hunt. But the weather had other plans. The treasure map started changing. The whole family decided to follow the new map. But the treasure didn't appear. Maybe they misunderstood. The treasure was right where they started. Sometimes the treasure doesn't go anywhere. It's just that the map got wet. Bluey gets lost in the giant sunflower forest. Secret painting. A large sheet of drawing paper is spread out on the floor. Paints, brushes, and crayons are placed around it. Mom, Dad, sister, and little brother look at one another. Dad gestures a rectangle in the air. We draw together. Dad sits down at one corner of the paper. Using a brush, he paints a simple house. Lines a bit rough but solid. Mom chooses soft colors. She paints flowers, trees, and the sky. Each stroke slow and gentle. Sister picks bright colors. She draws smiling people, arms and legs a little long, full of lively expression. Little brother sits right down on the floor. With crayons, he draws a big sun, coloring outside the lines, smudging a bit. The family steps back a few steps, seeing the whole painting for the first time. The house is off-center from the sun. The trees are bigger than the people. Colors don't match, lines overlap. They look at one another and burst out laughing. Lost together, found together. Night camping. Late afternoon, still bright daylight. The family loads camping gear into the car. Tent, bags, flashlight. The kids bounce excitedly. Dad gives a confident thumbs up.
Let's go!
Mom smiles. Dad and Mom set up the tent. The kids help hold poles and pegs. The tent is finally finished. The sky turns dark. The forest becomes quiet. Leaves rustle in the wind. The kids press close to Mom and Dad. Dad swallows nervously. Mom looks around, uneasy. A small noise from the bushes. Everyone freezes. Dad switches on the flashlight. Its beam shakes. Just a bug. No danger. But nobody relaxes. The family looks at each other. Mom gently shakes her head. Dad nods very quickly. The kids immediately run back toward the car. The tent stands alone behind them. The memory box. A quiet afternoon. A small box sits in the center of the table. A handwritten label on the outside reads, Memories. Dad looks around and gently opens a drawer. He takes out an old key, worn by time. Smiling softly, he places it into the box. Mom stands by the shelf. She takes a neatly folded old photograph, gently smooths the corner, then places it into the box. Sister runs back to her room. She brings out a slightly worn hair ribbon. She looks at it for a moment longer, then puts it in. Little brother quietly bends down to the floor. He picks up a small scratched toy, nods to himself, and places it into the box. The whole family sits in a circle. The box is placed in the middle. Dad opens the lid. The first item is taken out. Everyone looks at each other, pointing, guessing. As each item appears, surprise gestures, soft nods, gentle laughter. As the items are laid back on the table, the family sits closer together. Lost together, found together. Fixing the bike in the yard afternoon. A bicycle is leaning against the wall. The back tire is flat, completely deflated. Dad bends down and squeezes the tire. He shakes his head and sighs. Dad grabs a hand pump and attaches it to the valve. Mom stands beside him, holding the bike frame firmly. Sister runs into the house. She brings out a wrench and a cleaning rag. Little brother bustles around, hands over the wrong tool, then quickly switches. The wheel spins hard. The bike suddenly tilts. Mom almost slips. Dad quickly grabs the bike. Whoosh! The wheel pops off the axle and rolls fast across the yard. Little brother runs after it. Sister runs too. The whole yard erupts in chaos. Dad puts the wheel back on. Dad pumps a few more times. Dad spins the wheel to test it. Mom pushes the bike to the center of the yard. Sister hops on and rides a lap. The bike rolls perfectly. Little brother claps and cheers. Mom and Dad laugh together. Night camping. Late afternoon, still bright daylight. The family loads camping gear into the car. Tent, bags, flashlight. The kids bounce excitedly. Dad gives a confident thumbs up. Mom smiles. Dad and Mom set up the tent. The kids help hold poles and pegs. The tent is finally finished. The sky turns dark. The forest becomes quiet. Leaves rustle in the wind. The kids press close to Mom and Dad. Dad swallows nervously. Mom looks around, uneasy. A small noise from the bushes. Everyone freezes. Dad switches on the flashlight. Its beam shakes. Just a bug. No danger. But nobody relaxes. The family looks at each other. Mom gently shakes her head. Dad nods very quickly. The kids immediately run back toward the car. The tent stands alone behind them. Today, the whole family decided to bake a cake. But things didn't go exactly as planned. Bandit tried to adjust the cake. The more he adjusted, the more misshapen it became. The cake was put in the oven with high hopes. And then, the cake started to take on a very strange shape. The cake wasn't pretty, but it was fun. Most importantly, it was the fun of making it together. Where's the car? The family gets into their car. Doors close. Seatbelts click. Everyone looks ready and excited. Inside the supermarket, quick montage, an empty cart rolls in. Items pile up fast. The cart is now overflowing. At the register, the receipt prints and prints and prints. Dad stares at it, nervously. Mom nods calmly. Outside the store, the family pushes the heavy cart forward. Dad strains. Mom helps steer. The kids push proudly. They move far, very far, like they're walking home. They stop. Dad looks around. No car. Dad pulls out the car keys. Mom slowly turns and looks back toward the store. The family car sits alone in the parking lot. Back to the family, standing far away. Dad scratches his head, embarrassed. Mom crosses her arms, amused. The kids giggle. Trick backfires. Mom is cleaning the floor, fully focused. Bluey and Bingo peek from behind the couch, exchanging mischievous grins. Bluey draws a simple trap plan on a piece of paper. Bingo nods excitedly and gives a silent thumbs up. They shake hands in agreement. Fast, funny montage. A string is tied to a chair. A pillow is placed up high. A small paper X is stuck on a slippery spot. The girls step back, admiring their work. Mom walks closer. The girls hold their breath, covering their mouths. Mom pauses, looks around suspiciously. Mom pretends not to notice and calmly walks around the trap. Suddenly, she gently pulls the string. The pillow drops, right onto Bluey and Bingo. The girls tumble to the floor, surprised but unharmed. Mom stands with hands on her hips, smiling victoriously. Bluey and Bingo look at each other, embarrassed, then hide their faces. Mom pulls both girls into a warm hug. They all laugh together. Dad peeks in, accidentally steps on the leftover trap and slips slightly. Everyone bursts into laughter.
The experiment slide. Bluey and Bingo are setting up a small laboratory. They use a chair and a plank to create a simple, steep slide. Bluey retrieves her first test subject, a round rubber ball. She places it at the top of the plank and lets it go. The ball flies quickly down the ramp and bounces across the floor. Bingo giggles and tries to catch it, amused by the speed. Bluey places the block on the ramp and releases it. The block slides slowly, coming to a gentle stop at the bottom with a quiet thud. The two girls look at each other. Bluey gives a serious nod, as if she understands the lesson about friction. Bingo smiles, satisfied with the results of their experiment.
The balancing act. Bluey spots a bird perched on the fence and decides to challenge herself with a little balancing game. She slowly lifts one leg, arms out wide, trying to keep her body as still as a statue. But balancing is harder than it looks. Bluey begins to wobble and her little legs start to shake. Dad Bandit notices and steps right beside her. He circles his hands around her, creating a silent safety zone. Seeing her dad's hands nearby, Bluey feels a surge of confidence. She takes a deep breath and regains her focus. Thanks to the silent support, Bluey holds her balance longer than before. She feels strong and very capable. Broken window. A calm afternoon. A balloon floats gently in the air. The younger brother takes a run up and throws the balloon high. The balloon clips the edge of the window. Crash! The glass shatters, shards clinking as they scatter across the floor. The whole family freezes. Dad puts on gloves, carefully gathering each piece of glass. Mom lays down a large sheet of cardboard to cover the floor. The sister passes tape and a small broom. The younger brother hands over a cleaning cloth, stepping lightly. The last shard is placed into the bin. The family exhales in relief. Dad lifts the new glass panel, his hands slightly trembling. Mom holds the window frame, eyes focused. The glass slides perfectly into place. Dad tightens the screws. Mom checks the seal along the edges. Sunlight pours through the new window. The family looks at one another and smiles. Building a small wooden house. A cool, gentle morning. Dad carries the wood out and places it on the ground. Mom lays out the measuring tape, carefully measuring each piece. Sister uses a pencil to mark the lines. Little brother hugs a handful of nails, running back and forth excitedly. Dad joins two wooden boards to make the frame. The little house tilts slightly. The family stands back to look. Mom points and gently shakes her head. They take it apart and adjust it. Dad hammers in the nails. Thud, thud. Sister holds the board straight. Little brother hands over the hammer. The wrong way. The small wooden house stands firmly. The roof provides just enough cover with a cute low door. The whole family fits perfectly inside the tiny house. They look at one another and smile warmly.